Hi everybody, I'm First Alert Chief Meteorologist Stephen Bowers alongside meteorologist Savannah Kraft, and we are talking today about a massive wildfire that's blowing up in the Texas Panhandle, Savannah.
Yeah. It's like roughly triple the size of New York City and triple the size of Dallas, so this is pretty huge.
Yeah, and 850,000 acres, I think I read. And,
Yeah.
And it's one of many wildfires, but we're going to focus really on the big one and kind of give you some insight into the weather. Now, I know here in Colorado we deal with wildfires with some regularity, of course. And one of the questions I always get when we're dealing with wildfires is, has this one gotten big enough to affect its own weather? The answer is yes, and sometimes they do affect the weather in the immediate vicinity. And really what's happening is they're just so incredibly hot that the rising heat at the core of that fire starts drawing in air, kind of like a vacuum cleaner would, and it just really whips up the wind in the vicinity of the fire, which can then fan the flames and fuel the fire itself. Now, this fire is off to the northeast of Amarillo here in the Texas Panhandle. And well, we're seeing a lot of action here on the visible satellite. There's a lot happening. And I'm going to kind of draw here, and Savannah, you can kind of see these brighter whites that are coming in from the south that have a lot of movement. And even this little band, I'm going to kind of draw along it here, that little band that's moving, those are clouds, without question. But then you kind of see what appears to be kind of a fogginess underneath that.
Yeah.
You see that right in there?
Yeah.
That's smoke from this fire, and it's just engulfing the northern Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and it even comes up into parts of southeastern Colorado and southern Kansas.
Yeah.
It's a lot of smoke. Mm-hmm. So we want to focus on that smoke here, and what I find interesting about this is you can almost on a kind of a diurnal cycle here, you can see the smoke just billowing on this forecast here, you know, from day to day as it's blowing off to the north here. Mm-hmm. Of course, the highest concentrations of smoke are in the purple, and you see that blow off to the north tonight. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, and there still is a lot of smoke there north and northeast of Amarillo, but the thickest of it has passed to the north for a minute. Watch what happens as the day progresses. The wind starts to pick up again, and it just starts to billow more smoke from the Texas Panhandle right across the Oklahoma Panhandle and up into south central and southwestern Kansas. Mm-hmm. Once again, it's a lot of smoke, right?
Yeah.
So, again, that backs off at night, and then on Friday there's 6 a.m., and you start to see it billow up again. But you start to see it blow more toward the east. And what I'm happy to say about this is that it never really blows in our direction. It's bad enough down there, and if you know people who are having to deal with it, they sure enough are having to deal with it. I know you've been reading from our sister station down in Amarillo about this fire.
Yeah.
Lots of shelters open, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and there's also links already to donate, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, various places where you can donate to help the folks who are dealing with this. Lots of schools, businesses, that sort of thing are closed today because of this fire. The big story here, though, is that high pressure. You notice the smoke was blowing toward the north and that wind blowing from the south. And it's because of this high pressure that's centered off to the east there. Mm-hmm. Of course, clockwise winds flow around high pressure.
Right.
So west of that, we get that southerly wind. There's also a little zone. It's a technical feature that's called a lee-side trough. It's east of the mountains out on the plains, and in between that, it's kind of like an elongated small area of low pressure, and it increases the difference in pressure, or the pressure gradient, in between that high pressure and the low pressure over eastern Colorado. That's one of the reasons the wind ramps up in the afternoons here, and that's helping to kind of billow that fire. Now, that high pressure gradually shifts to the east, but you see the wind just really increasing in the afternoons. There's tomorrow, that's 6 p.m. And then on Friday, you see as that low pressure starts to kind of develop further south there into the Texas Panhandle, that's when the wind becomes a little bit more variable and may help to blow the smoke more toward the east over Oklahoma, as opposed to the north over southeastern Colorado and especially Kansas. So the thickest of the smoke does avoid Colorado, and that's the good news there. What about that wind? Look at this, Savannah.
About around 10 to 14 roughly miles per hour, and then as we get into the later hours, that wind pretty much picks up.
It really does. And then that's 6 a.m. tomorrow, and you've still got gusts in the, say, 18 to 25 mile per hour range there. And you see, I've plotted where the approximate location of that fire here. Now, that's 6 a.m. Look at what happens when we get to noon. Yeah, those gusts pick up to 25 to 30 miles per hour. And again, that helps to fan the flames, it helps to fuel the fire, and it helps to move that smoke around. And it's going to be absolutely billowing across the Texas Panhandle, up over the northwestern part of Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Panhandle, up around, say, Perryton and Liberal, and then up into Kansas there, even around Dodge City, and perhaps even around Springfield, Colorado, down there in Baca County. There's 6 p.m., the wind's backing off a little bit, and it subsides a little more overnight, only to ramp up again on Friday. And this is as far out as our high-resolution futurecast goes. But you do see the wind really starting to pick up again, coming more from the west there. You see from Tucumcari and Clovis, New Mexico, over toward Amarillo and Plainview, that wind shift from west to east there. And that, again, is one of the bigger reasons why we're going to start to see that smoke billow and blow off toward Oklahoma City as opposed to toward Dodge City. So that, again, 11 a.m. Friday. And the big picture, the drought monitor, always something that we're watching. And, of course, we're watching this for us, and we've seen some improvements. But what I find kind of interesting about this is frequently the fires will happen in areas of drought. This is actually just outside of an area of drought and just northeast of Amarillo, where we kind of go from abnormally dry to really where we should be. So this is not in a drought area. This is a fire, of course, that's, there it is, again, the approximate location, and you see kind of the current picture of the smoke billowing off to the east and northeast. And again, as that wind picks up tonight, it's going to blow more toward the north here. What really helps is some precipitation. We've been looking at this forecast too. Savannah, what kind of precipitation can we expect that could perhaps help this?
We're expecting at least frozen precipitation, specifically snow coming up from the south towards the north, up Lubbock there. And as we get through the afternoon hours, we are going to get a good amount of snow that hopefully that will help us.
Yeah, it just kind of helps to at least put a little dampness on that fire there. It's mostly snow, which tends to not be the wettest precipitation. Of course, rain would be a lot more helpful, but snow will do the trick. And it's mostly going to be overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning. It looks like by about midday tomorrow that's gone, and then the sun comes out, and once again that wind is going to be ramping up again into Thursday afternoon, and then by Friday even the clouds are clearing out of here. So there's more smoke to contend with, and of course our friends down in northern Texas are going to be contending with that. We'll have more information as we follow this here over the next couple of days, particularly online, and of course we'll be watching this, and we'll let you know of any big developments on the air also. But it's interesting to watch, but it's also extraordinarily dangerous for our friends down there. And if you have friends or family down there in the Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle, even in southwest Kansas, they're going to be dealing with this smoke, considerable amounts of smoke here for probably the better part of the next 4 or 5 days at least. And anybody who has breathing issues, breathing concerns, respiratory issues of any kind, it's best that they stay indoors, and when they have to be outdoors, just don't overdo it. Just kind of take it easy, and don't spend any more time out there than you absolutely have to. Again, thanks for checking in with us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Stephen Bowers, alongside meteorologist Savannah Kraft.